Sup everybody, this is Karak with ACG and welcome to another news video. We're going to cover these quick. I'm going to cover a little bit about Cyberpunk. I know, you're like me. It's like, my God, can we just stop talking about Cyberpunk? And I get you, but I'm going to cover some of the other games I'm actually playing right now and give you a heads up on how that video goes. I do want to make it clear to people, if you're just jumping into this because you didn't want to see the reviews are a mess video, I did pass up the review code. I talked about this on Twitter and the community forum. They did ask me if I wanted to cover it recently, and I looked at everything that's going on, and I just don't think that I should. I think I will review it when it's out for everybody, and there's various reasons why, including that digital rights management system that is supposedly really performance sapping. Now, a lot of people don't realize that digital rights management isn't only at times performance sapping for these review code ones, because I've actually played a couple games that have had this. This is not the first game to have something like this, but they also can induce a number of extra bugs. Now, not the bugs that we're seeing for Cyberpunk, but I just mean smaller bugs of various kinds. So I just want to move on, right? I just want to wait. I want to get it out here, play the game, and jump in and do a walking the walk if I get a chance and cover it. But getting a chance to cover other games is, of course, another thing I want to do, and that is going to be Hunter Call of the Wild. I want to talk to you guys about it. So Hunter Call of the Wild, I've had enormous return on the channel. People love these kind of things, and I'm covering their new location right now. I've been playing the shit out of this game. I've been a huge hunting game fan. 2015, I think, Cabela's open world, slow motion bullets, you know, and you were shot that elk from like 500 yards away, and it'd be all... I'll stop, but it'd go for about another 10 seconds, then a boom, and it'd hit the elk. Unfortunately, that's the one thing this is missing. No slow motion. It's too bad, because I would have killed to have slow motion in this game. However, no slow motion, but what it does have is really an outstanding series of gameplay bits in it when it comes to hunting games. You've got all kinds of different weapons. You've got hunting camp, you know, tents that you can put out and sleep instead of going back to your normal base. The worlds are huge, tons of animals. And it runs on Avalanche's graphic engine, which is just primo, super gorgeous. So I'll be covering their new location in that, which I believe is out on the 10th. I'll know when I do the video, I'll know more about the exact date and time for that. But it's DLC for Hunter Call of the Wild. If you know me, you probably remember that's actually, I think, one of the first videos I really got big into streaming on Twitch. That was one of the first ones where I was wearing camo and shit. Those were a blast. I was playing with Absy and Takedowns. So, and then there's another game. You know what? I don't think I can talk about that game. Let me scratch. There's another game. Yeah, I won't talk about that. We'll move on to some different news for a second. I am covering another game, but I got to check the NDA on it to start. Another bit of news I want to talk about that was really cool to me. Forza Horizon ended up releasing an update. It's called I think it's Super 7 update, which is one of those sort of trick updates with a lot of custom challenges and all this kinds of crazy stuff. And it was sort of a surprise, but I think they've got like a half pipe in it and all kinds of weird stuff. That was actually exciting because I am actually a huge Forza Horizon fan. In fact, I think especially when the first ones came out, I remember sort of playing them and going like, man, if they nail just a couple more things, they're going to have such a hit on their hands. And it's been awesome to see that just continually update with each iteration and just get better and better until basically we are where we are right now. It's just a phenomenal series of games. And so they ended up releasing a new DLC. I'd like to know if you playing it, what did you think of it? Because I think that released... No, actually, I think that releases today. So people are probably playing it right now when I'm recording this, which is the 8th. So I would love to know what you guys think of the game, if you're a fan of it, if you like these extensions and the updates. Because I think when you look at this in particular, that's a long time, right? That's a long time for the update. That's surprisingly stretched out when it comes to the update, because I believe Horizon was the year before last, if I remember right. I could be wrong on that, but I think it was the year before last. So pretty crazy. We're also getting a new Hitman 3 gameplay trailer that popped. It popped a couple hours ago. There was some data in there to check out. You know, Hitman's one of those games I'm super excited for. I actually think 2021 is going to be great for a couple reasons. One of the major ones, guys, is that we're just going to be done talking about Cyberpunk. I'm ready, man. I mean, like, I just want to jump in, start playing Cyberpunk, and get the fuck on, right? Let's do this. Let's jump into these other games. And if you look at 2021, there's a couple games out there that I think a lot of people are going to be interested in and want to play that maybe we're not talking about right now, that to me, I'm really excited to check out, and I think are probably going to end up hitting people in that sort of surprise way where you get that game and you start to play it it and you're like, yeah, I don't know if this will be good or whatever. And then once you jump in, you're like, man, this has been such a pleasure. And I feel that way with Phoenix Rising, Phoenix Rising, where I jumped into that game and I didn't know what to expect, and it just turned out excellent. So to me, those are two of the big news events that have been something that sort of ended up coming along and I was surprised about. I think one of the good parts of the news that we can wrap up this section with and maybe jump into a bit of the more detailed broken out parts is the Game Awards. So the Game Awards are coming up this Thursday. If you want to watch it, I'll be streaming it on Twitch. ACG on Twitch. We'll be streaming it there, most likely there, yeah. And I think it'll be by myself. I'm not quite sure. Maybe Abzy or somebody will join me. You know, I haven't really asked anybody. Nobody's really offered because we haven't got near that date yet. But what we're going to be doing is streaming it. We're going to be, you know, talking about the various different games and how they're doing. So I would love for you guys to stop by if you get a chance. The Game Awards are something that, while I'll stream it and I enjoy that discussion and the new games, I really do dislike, well, pretty much everything about their timing. One of the reasons being is that, you know, Cyberpunk, it couldn't be on the list for best game of the year or whatever. If it had been, right? It's not going to be, most likely. I'm just saying, if it could have been, and it didn't have a lot of bugs, what have you, it could have been on the list. And I get it. There's hundreds of reasons why these might be early. However, I think when I look at the way the Game Awards go, it never feels right. It just never works. Like, everybody's reasons for why it's prior and why it's so early, well, I consider it early in December, especially if you're looking at a Cyberpunk, it just doesn't fit for me. And the explanations never really work out. You know, you get a lot of people who are like, oh, it's ad buys or all that stuff. And I'm like, listen, I don't care. Like, that has nothing to do with me. What does have to do with me, and what I share with most people, is that we all use the same fucking calendar, right? And so the idea of that, you know, I've heard a lot of people be like, oh man, you know, they're going to roll the old fucking games forward. And it's like, it rarely happens. It does happen occasionally where the old game from the year prior gets into the next game's game of the year. But come on, guys, right? Come on. I think we can all agree that that is probably quite rare. I think Smash did it, and maybe one other one. But for the most part, that isn't done. And I think also, just by recency bias, it's difficult to even remember those games. And sometimes you can't even know, you know, like, should they win? Because it's been so long. It's like, do you have to go back and revisit those? Speaking of revisiting, guess what just came out? Guess what? Dungeons and Dragons podcast. One of the best ones I've ever heard because it's done by me. The ACG&D role-playing podcast came out. Number 2, Uno Dos, came out, and I think you'll enjoy it. It's about using idioms to create characters so that newcomers or old grognards can understand how to make a character better and sort of get the ideas of what their characters are when it's not just a bunch of random numbers as statistics. It's a blast to do. I've had a great time. And I got to say, man, that video, the number of people who've jumped in, I call it video. It's not. It's on iTunes and Spotify right now. But the number of people who've jumped in has been stunning to me. I was not expecting the number of people to follow the video game channel to jump into a podcast about role-playing, and it's been almost equal to the podcast, which to me is quite surprising because I guess I wasn't expecting that. It does dawn on me that when you look at the entire contingent of like 700,000 subscribers, a small contingent might be RPG and a small contingent might want to listen to a video game podcast, and they could both equal 3,000. So I get that. I get the math. Like, I'm not an idiot, but it was still really surprising. And it's been a blast to do. It's just me, man. It's just me talking about Dungeons and Dragons. 25, almost 30 years, 3 decades, 300,000 deaths. Nothing is off limits talking about D&D with me. I've been playing D&D since the red box, I think. Prior to the red box, right? No, maybe it was red box. And it's a blast to talk about. I think it really does help, especially now with Cyberpunk, because you have the Cyberpunk RPG that's out, and they have a bunch of stuff planned that's going to tie into the Cyberpunk 2077, which is awesome. People don't get it, man. There's something so cool about Dungeons and Dragons / role-playing. And when you do tap into it, if you can, it's just fantastic. Speaking of fantastic, we're almost at exactly 10 minutes. I'm doing pretty okay at getting in these times. So those are our multiple different little news bits. Now I'm going to jump into whichever ones I want to jump into in a little bit of more of a podcast form. and then we'll call her quits at around 20 minutes. If you get a chance, stick around. If you get a chance, maybe put a comment in, give it a thumbs up, share it, subscribe. I would appreciate all those kind of things. Listen, the best I can do is be honest with reviews, like passing up Cyberpunk, those kind of things. My hope is that makes you guys, want to subscribe, or you can come to the Patreon. Patreon's always fun. So breaking these down and talking about the various different things, I was trying to decide what I want to talk about. I don't want to talk about Cyberpunk anymore. I just don't. I'm sorry. So you're not going to have to see Cyberpunk footage, right? It's woo. What just happened? Oh, my dog just knocked my cell phone down. Sorry about that. So I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about just games as a whole in 2021. So PS5 and Xbox Series X, we're getting into this next year where I personally have felt that they didn't land with a dud. I don't want to say that, because the moment I say anything like that, you get a bunch of Sony fans who are like, but there was exclusives. Listen, I get it, and I played them, and I loved them. I get it. What I mean by landing with a dud, at least to me a little bit, is that I've lived through a lot of consoles where the old console was really going out and the new one came in with a bang, right? Maybe 3 or 4 with some hook. Now, the hook here is backwards compatibility, which there's no denying I'm a huge fan. I've talked about this. I did not think I was going to be a huge fan of 2 things of these next generation consoles. So about 2 and 3 years ago, if you'd asked me, I'd be like, next gen, I mean, I don't mind it, but I'm not in love with it. And quick resume, I'd be like, who the fuck cares? Both things have completely grabbed me by the cojones. I love. Yet, I don't feel like, even with the exclusives of the PS5 and the Xbox having great backwards compat, I just don't feel like they've grabbed us yet. And Cyberpunk isn't even the Cyberpunk we're going to get on the next gen until later. But I do think 2021 is going to offer some stuff. And I got to say, I'm pretty excited about that. I'm pretty excited to just sort of it doesn't even have to be like taking advantage of these new systems as much as just games where at least they sort of knew what they were getting, and additionally getting them at the same time. I'm really tired of this bullshit. I'm really so tired of, it's like, yeah, you're going to get this version and then this version will come out a little later and we'll patch this. And, we know that's happening with some games. It's like, dude, can we just get to the point to where, they sort of all come out at the same time and you can choose which system you have. So a person with a PS4 can play the same game, but with different graphical fidelity than a PS5. So I'm just excited for that. I think that's one of the best parts of 2021. And one of the best parts about 2020, I'm going to cut this sort of short here. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do it for you because I love you guys. I'm going to cut this sort of short. Some people have asked me at times, and this is so strange, but people have said, hey, your mic sounds different here. Your mic sounds different there. What's going on? Well, first of all, you must be like me, because in every podcast ever, daily, I can always tell there's a difference in the audio. Every podcast, even like Howard Stern, I'll be like, something sounds slightly different. So I do get it. I'm sort of happy people can pick up on things. It just depends on what time of day and what's going on, because I have 3 dogs. Is our family home? Is the door open? Is it not open? You guys got to realize I live in the office, right? The office is in my bedroom. There isn't a special place to record. So sometimes you might hear a little extra static and I'll have to denoise it a little bit. There's just various different things that can pop up. So I just want to inform people, because I know some people will ask and they'll be like, man, it sounds weird. Why? And I'll be like, dude, there was like 3 dogs barking and I had to clip out that sound or whatever. Also, big remembrance for Ming, our siren of the podcast. He passed away 14 years. He passed away 2 weeks ago. Right? Yeah, 2 weeks ago. It's crazy too, because man, I've been having weird fucking nightmares about that guy. But he was a great dog. A fantastic dog. Dogs are so cool. They've been a great time, especially with COVID, people stuck at home. It's been a blast having these dogs. I got Lau and Zen and Loki still sticking around, still kicking around. And that's why you'll hear, you'll hear the occasional bark, or during a podcast, you'll see me be like, hey man, I gotta go. And I'll get up and run off because the dogs have got out the door or something crazy like that. So, but I appreciate people noticing those kind of things. Anyway, that'll be it for me. I want to tell you guys how much I appreciate everybody here. It's going to be great getting past these games and getting to something new, right? I think it's going to be extraordinary for all of us. Anyway, that's it for me. Peace out, everybody. Subscribe, comment, check out the D&D podcast, iTunes, Spotify. Oh, and maybe jump into some of these amazing programs. Today's podcast is brought to you by Karak's Audio and Audible, audibly acceptable audiobooks. Right now, you can get over 100,000 million books through the Karak's Audio bookstore. New York Times classics like I Married a Werewolf, Teen Bruisers, What Is This Dark Spot, Why Can't I Pull Off My Own Face, and the classic award-winning self-help book, How to Staple Your Mouth Shut by Here is just a small sample of the audio quality that you can expect. He flicked the hair out of his face, the sweat beading off of it, his weight pressed down on her, his lithe form finding comfort in her curves. There was a sensuous quality to her body he couldn't get enough of. He slipped her bra off smoothly and tossed it onto the hard concrete floor. Bill patted the old Corvette with one hand. That's it, baby. Let me know all your secrets. An entire world is waiting for you. Just download them on the go to your Android or that one company that fucking hates headphones, so they remove the port completely. Listen on the go. Pretend you're busy so you don't have to engage with others in society. And that's right, you can do it all from the comfort of your little safety cocoon of sound, you goddamned introverts. It's best if you also don't make eye contact and beat your head like you're cooler than everyone else is. Just $19.99 a month plus taxes and fees and VAT times 2, or our subscription service that's only $19.99 a month plus VATs and fees and service times 2. And allowing our tracking cookies, you can have instant access to all that you desire when it comes to the audio realm. So join Karak's Audio and Audible, audibly acceptable audiobooks now, for when your eyes are just too fucking lazy to move side to side. And remember, you can't cancel at any time. Karak's Audio and Audible, audibly acceptable audiobooks. Let's just stop moving as a species, you fatties.